All right, push the line. What's up? It's your boy Jay from the K, and I'm back just to follow up. So on the Triple M this week, I talked about men not wanting to ask for resources. Okay, that's a near and dear subject to me as a man, but I also know that it affects so many other men out there, and so I wanted to rap about that. Okay, so let's dig in. Okay, so what did I mean by uh, men not wanting to ask for resources? Why is that such an important thing, right? Well, as a man, it's important because most of us we are leaders of our households, of our families. Um, we have a counterpart who depends on us, right? They look at us like we're the leader, we're the foundation, we're the rock. You know what I'm saying? We're stability, right? There's so many things that, so many roles that we actually play and functions that we facilitate, um, and so it makes sense for us to be able to ask for resource, right? What happens when a man doesn't ask for resource? Well, something's going to fall short. Like there's going to be a need that's not met. You know what I mean? There might be some goals that are not achieved, right? Or there's going to be some lessons that are learned the hard way or just not learned at all, right? And so, but where does this come from? You know, that really comes from, it permeates from boyhood, right? We have a lot of men out here running around claiming to be men, right? But not really knowing what it means to be a man. You understand? And ladies, if y'all tuning in, I'm pretty sure you know a couple fellas that, they think they men, but they may not really be men. You did? Uh, don't talk about them if you're sitting next to them. Don't even say nothing. Just, you know. Nah, but for real though, like, so as boys, men, we are taught things like boys don't cry, suck it up. You know what I mean? If you played sports, you probably had a coach that told you to walk it off. Like, coach, hey man, I was out there running the play and I twisted my ankle. My ankle swollen up. He told you to, you be okay, walk it off. Go run some laps, you'll be all right, right? Really? You know what I'm saying? Like, real talk, I can just walk my injuries off and it ain't nothing. Nah, man. Right? But that's masculinity, right? And so the problem that we have when I talked about the resources is that some men some men practice masculinity versus manhood. Okay, and so as a boy, if a boy is told that men don't cry, so he starts to conceptualize what manhood looks like based on these false principles, these crazy false ideologies, right? That men are just not supposed to have emotion, right? And so that little boy is going to grow up to be a young man, right? That young man is going to become a grown man. He's going to become an adult. So as a boy, that person never learned how to um, express their emotions or even conceptualize their emotions, right? To process their emotions correctly, right? In order to express themselves. Well, that person is going to grow up and have a lot of problems because little boys throw temper tantrums when they don't know how to express themselves. Now, all kids throw temper tantrums, but the reason why it's more important to understand for boys is that um, uh, it is said that boys are naturally aggressive. That men are we're just naturally aggressive. That's how the male gender is, right? Um, versus females. So if you think about that, when your kid goes to school, your son goes to school, then they're already receiving him with this idea that boys are just prone to be more aggressive, right? And there's some truth to it. And I'm not saying that the males are not a little more aggressive than women are, right? But the fact of the matter is, not all boys are aggressive, right? And so it's wrong for us as men to walk around with this veil of masculinity like we're just always hard 365. We wake up eating our cereal, you're hard. You know what I mean? We go to work, we hard. Everything we do is hard. You know what I'm saying? And we don't have any emotions, right? That's bad because society will start to conceptualize or misconceptualize uh, what it means to be a man, what men really are, right? And so if a teacher receives a little boy, if she walks into her classroom and she sees 30 students and 20 of them are boys, she might think in the back of her mind, it's gonna be a rough year because I got 20 boys in my class, and boys are naturally aggressive, right? Just think what a cop is gonna think when he walks up on a vehicle that he just pulled over, right? That may be why his hand is already on his hip, right? Because men are just more naturally aggressive. He's already run your name. He knows it's a man in the car, right? And there might be some other variables that factor into that, but we already know that if society perceives men as naturally aggressive, there's some consequences to come with that. But whose fault is it? I think it's a mixture of a societal misconception, the standards they place on men, or we place on men. We're all part of society, and it's also our fault as men for continuing to perpetuate this false uh, this false idea of what man is, right? Because manhood is not masculinity, right? Um, and for men, I just tell you this, man, your woman is not masculine, right? And they don't. Your masculinity is great when it comes to stability and security. That's great, right? When you think about it that way, just sheer masculinity, the bravado, the macho ness, that's all great when it comes to that kind of stuff. But when she wants to connect with you and have a conversation, when she's had a hard day at work and she want to talk to you, and you just too tough, that you just, man, just suck it up. I don't know what you're crying about that for anyway. The world is life is hard. Dog eat dog out here. Only the strong survive. You know what I'm saying? Like all the stuff that all the mantras that we could regurgitate, right? That's not gonna help. And that's not gonna help your relationship. It's gonna make your relationship worse because she wants to connect because as women, as little girls, their cognitive skills form a little faster than ours because they mature a little faster than we do as men, right? But they relate, they bond, they communicate, right? Little girls talk, they speak more words than boys do from birth on up, right? And so because you've asked her how was your day today, and she's ran through the list of everything and fine detail, acute detail, and you're over here like, man, you didn't want to hear all that. You just want to hear it was cool. You know what I'm saying? So you already know that they can communicate better, right? Or they tend to communicate better than we do at an earlier age, right? And so we might spend a little bit more time playing catch up. But it makes it worse when we practice masculinity over manhood, right? So men, we have emotions just like women have emotions, right? We're human beings just like they are, right? And so if we're practicing masculinity versus manhood, society might start to feel like, no, they don't care. They don't really matter. Their feelings don't matter. Their voice doesn't matter. Because these things don't really matter to them. So when it comes down to, what affects our children in the school system or in healthcare or, whatever economically, like they might feel like there's no need to have men involved, right? And it's kind of the reason why when you go into the school, you kind of feel a little uneasy being there. If you're the man having to go into the school to see the kids or pick the kids up or whatever, you walk in there, you may not feel like invited. That just may be because in society we've already allowed so much time to elapse for people to believe that men are just naturally aggressive. So all men are just aggressive, right? And if I'm in a school and the school is comprised of mostly women in every position outside of the janitor and the coach, you know what I mean? It's like you're gonna have it's gonna be an uphill battle to kind of show that you're not that kind of person, right? Because of this misconception, right? And so that's what I was meaning by that. But also, like, you're afraid to ask for resources because, hey, I'm afraid to look vulnerable and to be exposed. I don't want tricky thing about men is we have this like unwritten standard. It's an unwritten code. It's a standard we live by. You know what I mean? Like if you see a man cutting, if you see a woman in your neighborhood cutting the grass, and you know the husband is at home, men are gonna be sitting, man, kind of look at Frank over there, got his woman out there cutting the grass. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, and Frank know if Jack know that he letting his woman cut the grass, man, Jack gonna give him an earful. And other people in the neighborhood, Jack gonna be talking to other people in the neighborhood about Frank. You know what I mean? Other dudes. You know what I'm saying? Because it's an unwritten standard that we have, right? So sometimes we get afraid to cross that line and just be a little bit less masculine, right? Because that fear that I want to look manly, right? But that all goes back to boyhood. You know what I mean? Because on the playground, if we've been taught in our own families and our own neighborhoods and our communities and in our culture and our society that boys are strong, we're tough, we don't take nothing from nobody. You know what I mean? Then when we encounter situations where we're supposed to be a little bit soft, we're supposed to be meek and humble, we don't really know how, right? And it's uncomfortable then, right? And so as boys, that's one thing, but we're men. And so as men, it's not okay. You know what I mean? And so uh you gotta learn how to separate your masculinity from your manhood, right? I'll give you an example. Like if a man disrespects another man, you're probably already thinking, like, just hearing those words, a man disrespecting another man, you already it's about to be fisticuffs. We're about to get it on, right? Um, but it doesn't always have to be that way. That's when two men are just stuck in masculinity. If one of those men are a real man, he could say, "Hey, look, bro. All right, so I understand. I must have said something that offended you, made you upset. You know, let's talk about it. My bad. Whatever, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Let's move on." But if you got two guys practicing masculinity, it's about to be a whole lot of furniture moving. you know, uh, but it's not good because now there's consequences that are graver. You know what I mean? When you're a little boy and you're fighting on the playground, they're gonna call mama and daddy, right? You're probably gonna get suspension. You're gonna have to eat your lunch in the classroom with the teacher. You know what I mean? Those type of things. But as a grown man, man, you about to catch a case. You about to catch a DV, assault and battery, aggravated assault. You got real consequences. You got court fines. You got to pay a lawyer. You have to go sit down and serve some time. You might lose your job. There's some real consequences to come with that. And so little boys don't think about that stuff. All they know is that I'm a boy. Boys don't cry. Boys are not supposed to be punks. We don't let anybody just hit us and beat up on us and treat us wrong or just mishandle us. We're not taking that, right? That's what little boys will think. That's how they process things when they're uh, doing it from a place of masculinity, right? But as men, you know, a man will stop and think and say, okay, how is this going to affect me, my life, my family, my children, my work, my livelihood? How is this going to affect all of that if I react this way, right? And so men will be able to process the right way. Will respond and not react, right? And so we've been able to practice the art of choice and decision making and critical thinking and all that, right? And so there's so much that goes into it, so many levels to it, right? But just at the base level, that if you are afraid to ask for resources, you're actually putting your family at a disadvantage. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage because you don't have it all, you don't know it all. You know what I mean? It's just not possible, right? But if you got a community, you got resources, you got a network you can tap into, then you're gonna fare a lot better than somebody else that doesn't have that, right? And so don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to have a mentor. You know what I mean? I had a older gentleman tell me one day that a well-rounded person has somebody who will pour into them and mentor them, someone who they can connect with and relate to and share information with and share experiences with, and then someone that they can mentor and pour into, right? That makes a person a well-rounded person, right? And so if you think about that, if you're one of those people and you're missing one of those things, as men, you need to find those elements, right? And those need to be a part of your network and need to be a part of your community, right? Um, you got to, right? I'll say this, because if you're a little boy on the inside still, or you were a little boy who didn't have a father figure or didn't have any good male role models in your life, good positive role models, then you've practiced what some women practice that didn't have the same thing in their lives, right? Sorry, but listen. So when I was young, I used to watch. Uh, some women would have a guy who would uh, pay the bills, have a guy who would help work on the car, have a guy that would come over and spend some quality time with them. You dig? Have a guy that they could just talk to and relate to, and just go hang out and catch a movie with, and all that. Just be friends with. You know what I'm saying? They would have a guy for different things, right? For different needs. But what were they actually doing? They were building a man, right? So what they couldn't get in one man, they were getting in different men, right? On the flip side, little boys do the same thing when we don't have a good positive role model, male influence in our lives. We do the same thing, but it's for different reasons, right? But so I wanna know how to fight, stand up for myself, get respect. I might go look at this guy because he seems like he's good with the ladies. You know what I mean? Or this guy over here knows how to get money. Or this guy's good at sports. I'm gonna learn how to get my jumper shot right with this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like we will start to um, uh, build ourselves a model of manhood. It's the same thing that little girl would do without a positive male role model in her life, right? We do the same thing, right? We just don't think about it, right? So just be honest with yourself and look back over your shoulder and ask yourself, did you do that? Think about those times when you actually did do that. When you said to yourself, man, Ray Ray, Ray Ray good with them hands. I'm gonna be like Ray Ray. I'm gonna watch Ray Ray. I'm gonna hang out with Ray Ray. I'm gonna learn from Ray Ray. I'm gonna be up on the Ray Ray, right? or or whoever, Junebug know how to work on them cars. I'm gonna learn how to do them cars. So when I get older, I can fix my own car. You know what I mean? Like think about that because what you were doing was actually building yourself a model for manhood, right? But ask yourself, did you ever see a man cry? Did you ever see a man be in his feelings and actually talk about it and express it and process it and get over it and move forward? Did you ever see that? Because if you didn't, then you're missing something. And as a man, you're in a bad place because when you and your woman get into it, and because they can communicate better than us a lot of times, and they use more words than we do, when we get to arguing, we may be like this, it may be like this, and after so long, that little boy rises up, and that temper tantrum that he used to throw is now something different because he's a grown man, and now everything looks way different. It's bad, right? Because he doesn't know how to process, right? So you have to be able to protect yourself from that. You want to protect your family, your woman from that, your people in your sphere of influence, right? Um, do yourself um, do yourself some good and some service to yourself and connect yourself with men who are real men. They know how to process their emotions. They know how to conduct themselves the right way and behave the right way, right? Um, if you don't, man, you're really messing yourself up, right? And I'll just say this, and then I'll close this out. I had a gentleman, and one of the training sessions I used to do, right? We talked about this very thing about resource, and he talked in a room full of men about how um, he taught his children to never ask for help. Go get it yourself, you know. And just think about that. As men, we've heard that kind of stuff before. You know, if a man don't work, he don't eat. That's where that kind of stuff come from. He even quoted that, right? So that's the thinking he has. So, but the other men in the room, we've all heard that, but not everybody was still holding on to that, right? And so the other men in the room began to kind of redirecting, right? And the brother just he was cool. He's a good brother, man, solid guy, because he was able to say, "Dang, you know what? I'm wrong. I was wrong. Why am I thinking like that? That's crazy. You know, y'all right. I shouldn't. You know." And I told him in myself, like, look, think about this, because his reasoning for saying that was that I don't want to leave this planet uh, with my kids asking people for something. Because if I'm not around to provide for them as the provider, I don't want them to get into a place of instability and then have to ask people, and then people take advantage of them and hurt them and do them wrong and mistreat them, right? I would rather than them to be able to provide for themselves. And that's all meaning, that's well-meaning intent that he had. But the problem is that he wasn't thinking when he was telling his kids this, that one day they're gonna grow up and they're gonna actually need help. And they're never gonna ask for help because they're gonna be thinking like, man, daddy taught us that that's not what we're supposed to do. Especially if they boys, they're gonna know that's not what men do. Daddy was a man, he was a man I looked up to. I learned how to be a man from him, right? And I say this brother was a real man because he took the correction, applied it, and started to change his viewpoint, right? And he's a solid guy, right? And so we all should be able to do that at some point. We need to get to a point where we say, man, I haven't been the man I thought that I was or I am, right? Because I was practicing masculinity, not really manhood, right? And I'll ask you a question, and then I'm really going to close, right? In my sessions, I used to ask, I started doing this years ago, but I would ask, I would have groups of men, and I would ask, when did you become a man, right? Everybody has different answers. Somebody might say, when I was 5, when I was 3, I was 10, I had to take help around the house. I was 13, I had to start working, you know what I mean, to help mama out, whatever, right? Uh, some of us have different answers, right? And so I'm one of those men. I was 25 when I realized. I think I was 25. I was in my 20s. I know that much. I'm a little older now, so you know those time frames. Yeah, I was in my 20s. We'll just say that. But what I do know is that I had my firstborn child, and I was looking at my child one day, and it just kind of hit me that I got a child, I'm married, I have a family, but I didn't have a father growing up, right? And so I was thinking to myself, like, how do I really know how to father if I didn't have a father to watch and to see, right? And that's kind of when I started to understand this whole process of building a model of manhood. Because I remember in my mind, I was thinking, like, man, I remember so and so from the block. I used to see him. He used to have he used to have a slab, the Cadillac. It was clean, candy yellow on the rims and all that. And, you know, and his partners, they all had the same stuff. So, man, I took a mental note to that, like, oh man, I'm gonna be cool like that. My car gonna be clean when I got my car. You know what I'm saying? I was a kid, right? And the way they dress and they stay fresh and all that, I'm gonna be like that too. I'm gonna be on point every time I leave the house like they do. You know what I'm saying? Um, uh, Kids, we absorb so much information, right? But then I would look at people like my grandpa, right? Because he had a great work ethic. You know what I mean? He was a man from the 40s, right? And so I didn't always get to see emotion displayed, right? But there was those moments where we had conversation and he talked and he really gave us tutelage, you know what I'm saying? and you could see the tenderness in him, right? Um, then I would see other guys, I would build my own little model of what manhood was. But the only thing was is that when I became a father and a husband, I just realized, like, did I ever really see it the way I should have saw it, or was it really displayed to me the way it ought to have been displayed to me for me to really grow from it to glean from it and really grow from that gleaning? You know what I'm saying? And so um, I had to step back, and I remember talking to my wife, and I apologized to her, and that's when I felt like I became a man because I was able to step back and say, you know what, I'm sorry that we've started a family, I've got married, and we started this whole thing, and I'm just now realizing that, man, I wasn't a man. You know what I mean? Because I was thinking of being a man was providing, putting food on the table, and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's all great. That's a function of a manhood, right? But that's part of leadership. You know what I mean? But that doesn't make me a man, right? And so in that moment, looking at my kids playing, then and knowing I got a family, that's when it hit me like, man, I wasn't a man before. You know what I mean? But I think in that moment, that's when I had that epiphany, that aha moment, and it was like, boom, okay, I know what I got to do as a man, right? Uh, I don't know if you read scriptures or whatever, right? But it says that when I was a child, I thought as a child, and when I became older, I put childish things behind me, right? And in that epiphany, that's kind of when it hit me, like, okay, I can't afford anymore to do childish things. I can't think in a childish way. And I had to really assess and examine myself and analyze myself and figure out how I was being childish, how I was being, um, how I was missing my mark as a man. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to go in a whole bunch of details, but there was some times in my life where I was missing the mark because I thought differently than I ought to thought. You know what I mean? I messed up some opportunities in my life because I was thinking masculine and not manly. You know what I mean? Um, and those moments hurt. They were low moments, um, and I learned from them though, because that feeling was like I never want to feel that again. You know what I mean? And so, if you're a man and you're listening to me, you're watching me, don't be afraid to assess yourself. Don't be afraid of your weaknesses, because you can really find strength in your weaknesses. Because if you have a weakness, you can exercise that thing. You can work it out. And you can build it up and strengthen it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be a weakness, right? Um, Real talk. I don't like doing this right here. This wasn't my thing. This whole video thing. Nah. This is not my thing. I'd rather be in the background. You dig? But process of evolution. Things happen. Things change. Put in different positions and opportunities, and you kind of I kind of learned how to come out of my shell a little bit or whatever. Um, but it's a part of my journey of manhood, right? All I'm saying is that um, you don't have to be where you are. You know what I mean? You don't have to as a man. You don't have to say um, I'm measuring my manhood on what the next man says as far as like being masculine. You know what I mean? You don't have to do that. You dig? And some of y'all know me, and so some of y'all know how I was, how I used to be. Da 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 da. You know me, so you see me like this, and this is me, but this wasn't always me. You dig? And so, yeah, I'm a man, but I can be masculine too. I just say that, you know what I'm saying? So uh, I'm not saying that we got to be weak as men. I'm not saying throw away our strength and that bravado or being macho, but I'm just saying that that should not be the epitome of what we are as men. You know what I mean? Because man, you could fight, you could be the toughest, strongest, biggest, baddest, best looking, have the most money, most successful, most athletic, da 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 da. But there's always gonna be somebody out there that's even better. than you are, right? So it's silly and it's mundane to think like that. You know what I mean? And so, especially if you're a man that look like me, you got to realize, like, just think, like I said, that society already has this understanding that men are naturally aggressive, right? And so, do yourself a service, connect with other real men, sit up under somebody who's a man, get you a mentor, get you somebody who can pour into you that you can call on and talk to. When you're going through things in your relationship with your woman, you're going through things in your relationship with your kids, or on the job, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Find you some dudes you can connect with, and will spend the time to invest in you and build you up, support you, edify you, and not make you feel like you're a punk and a chump because um, you expose your vulnerabilities. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm just being a real one right now, just telling you, like, that's for the birds. We grown. We ain't got time for all that. We got too much living to do. We got too much success to obtain. Like, it's time out for all that. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So this video was longer than what I wanted it to be. This is supposed to be like a few-minute video because it was only supposed to be a follow-up. But I just had to cover that because this is something that's near and dear to me, because our society has misconceptualized men for so long, because us as men, we've allowed it to happen because we didn't realize that's what was going on, right? And I'm not trying to sound sexist. I'm not trying to be divisive at all. I just want men to wake up and realize that, we do matter. Our voice does matter. Uh, but how we vocalize that voice is important. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be like archaic. You know what I mean? Like, I said it, that's the way it is. I'm the head. You know what I'm saying? I'm a man, rah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be for real. Going to the school, going to the hospital, going to your any facility, almost any organization, nonprofit, church, da 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 da, and look who occupies most of those positions, and then still walk around and be like, "I'm a man, rah." You know what I'm saying? Like, if you really wake up and look at it, like, it's not masculinity is not gonna get you that far. That's all I'm saying, right? And I'm gonna say, I keep saying I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna close, but I gotta say this for real, because when it comes to masculinity, if you have this mindset that I'm a man, and as a man I'm masculine, and that's what makes me a man. When it comes to parenting, bruh, you messing up, because you're probably gonna believe that discipline is spanking your children, right? And I'm not opposed to spanking children, but just hear me out. If you have a masculine mindset that that's what makes me a man, you will actually believe that that's what discipline is, right? And you're going to be wrong. And you can pause this video. You can throw your phone out the window while you're driving down the street. You don't gotta listen to me. You know what I'm saying? But just go open a dictionary and look at the word discipline. Find out what the root of the word means. It means to be discipled, to teach, right? Spanking ain't taught nobody nothing. You know what I mean? Think about it. You got whoopings. What did they teach you? Did you still do those things that you got a whooping, for? You know what I'm saying? You might not did it where you can get caught again, but at some point you probably did it again, right? And I've always used this example when I would do trainings. We take our pets, our dogs. You can't housebreak a dog by whooping a dog and putting the dog's face in its own, urine, feces, whatever. That doesn't work, because all you taught the dog is don't do it where it could be seen, where it could be found. That dog is gonna go behind the couch. You know what I'm saying? The dog is gonna go behind it under the curtain and use the restroom. It's gonna find a place. It's a dog. It's gonna do what a dog got to do, right? So you're not really teaching them anything. You haven't discipled them, right? But if you take that dog after you feed them and water them, and you take them outside for a while, and they use the restroom outside, over time they learn. Oh, okay. You don't do it in here, you do it out there, right? But we'll do that with our dogs, but with our children, we'll we'll try to beat it into them, and that's not discipline. That's punishment. And those two different things. And so that's what I'm saying. Like once we step back and really analyze ourselves first, then we can kind of start seeing those things with a little bit more clarity and realize that how much damage am I doing to my kids if I'm trying to rule with an iron fist because I'm a man and I'm masculine and I'm the leader of the household and da 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 da. Because those kids later on, they're not going to want to come to you to talk to you about things that they should be able to come talk to you about because you're the enforcer, you're the man, you're the masculine guy. Nobody wants to talk to that person. Nobody wants to hang around that person. You know what I mean? So you're going to do yourself a disservice if you don't figure it out now. You know what I mean? You don't have to listen to me. You can be mad at me. You can lead a group. You could stop looking at me on YouTube. Whatever. That's cool, right? But I feel like it's my duty if I know to share that with you. You know what I'm saying? And so I just don't want to see no men out here, losing their families and their loved ones and the jobs and all these opportunities and just life in general. You know what I'm saying? Because of a misconception. You dig? And I'll just say, as men, if you believe that your woman is with you because you're masculine, just remember what I said about the young woman or you the little girl who builds the model of a man, right? There's always that guy who they talk to. He understands. He listens to me. That's the dude you jealous of. When you was going to school and your girl had a friend that she would say, "Nah, we ain't not. That's just my boy. That's just my friend. We just friends." You had a problem with that cat because he had something. He had a part of her that you didn't have because you was just being too suave and masculine. That's what your whole thing was. That's what you thought was attracting her to you, right? Why were you jealous then? Because it was something that he was giving her that you couldn't give because you didn't know how to give it. You did. And so all I'm saying is learn how to be a man. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So anyway, let me get off of this because y'all gonna be mad at me now. Y'all gonna hate me. You ain't never gonna tune in again. And that's cool. Cause maybe I said something some of y'all women gonna tune in and we're gonna talk then. Okay? So we're gonna talk about some stuff with women into it and all that. We're gonna talk about family and all that kind of stuff for real, for real. But hopefully y'all fellas don't take offense, y'all tune in. If you didn't like it, you probably turned it off a long time ago. That's cool. I ain't tripping on that, okay? All right. Anyway, let me go ahead and get off this soapbox, and let y'all do y'all thing. But I really enjoyed y'all tuning in and letting me rap with y'all about this, man. But just think about it this week, this month, the rest of your life. Consider, am I being masculine or am I being a man? Okay? All right, well, I'm gonna let y'all go, but until next time, y'all be blessed.